welcome to another episode of The Meta. I'm your host, Jay Larson, and joining me this week, I have a special guest from Poland, Pawel Blados.
Yes, very well, correct.
Hooray! How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Today we have day off, so
great.
So very, very good.
So Pawel, can I guess you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So maybe I am 38. I have 2 kids and 1 wife, 1 dog. Now I'm building a house, so I have a head whole of different ideas about this project. I can say about wargaming. My history is starting 90s because I start wargaming from Warhammer in 1906. So it's 25 years with this hobby, and in War Machine I play from 2009. So 13 years for now. So this is about hobby. And for now I'm playing Scorn mostly. But before it was Kador and Circle Ouroboros.
Okay, so you recently got first place in Poznan Masters tournament.
Yeah.
Playing Scorn.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that event?
First of all, it was great event because due to COVID, we don't have any event from almost 2 years because last big event was in January 20. So we was very exciting before this event, and it was big pleasure. Of course, there was about 30 players, something like this, if I could remember. And I won this tournament, and of course, like you mentioned with Scorn. First of all, we see. I can say that this was first contact with War Machine and Hordes after those dynamic update, what was done in at the end of October. So it was first contact with this one. So there was quite different, point of view for this, what is going on with on the battlefield, I can say, and there was, new approach to build of our lists. Yeah. So of course, this tournament was like always in good atmosphere. And of course, there was a lot of good players because I believe in Poland we have quite high level of in War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I wanted to ask on. So, War Machine or Poland has had a reputation of being a country that has very strong players, a very strong meta. What have things been like? I guess how you mentioned the pandemic and that there was a long time when you guys didn't have events. I guess how has the pandemic been in Poland and how has the War Machine community been?
First of all, of course, the overall pandemic situation in Poland is like everywhere, so it's not okay. But if we're talking about War Machine and Hordes, our community is smaller than before because due to pandemic, we have only one shop for now in Poland where we can buy some War Machine and Horde models, and for all new stuff we're waiting very long. So this is the first thing. Second, of course, the events, because this system is quite competitive. So without the events, tournaments, a lot of people, put models to the shelves and start, I don't know, for example, Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40k, something like this. So pandemic has negative impact on our community and War Machine in Poland. But we believe, because now we're starting to do some events, and even we're thinking about something in Warsaw, maybe some team tournament or something like this. So we believe it can, start again. And of course, world championships, team championships can, have speed up this to speed up this situation and has positive impact to back on the right tracks.
All right. Well, just to do a review of The format real quick. We'll have a conversation with each other for about 45 or 15 minutes, and that will be available to everyone for free. And then we'll do a bonus episode that'll be about the same length that'll be available to the patrons of the podcast. And most of the questions that I'll be asking will be from the patrons. So let's go ahead and dive into the patron questions.
Okay.
All right. So first question from Dragon Pup. He says, "What are the models that first got you interested in Scorn?"
Once again, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. He asked, "What are the models that got you first interested in Scorn?"
Interested?
Interested? What?
Interested.
What models sparked your interest?
But if we're talking about if you want to start the Scorn or
yeah, what models got you made you want to play?
Oh, okay. No, sorry, I didn't understand. The idea of the question. First of all, I start with Immortals, but I start with Immortals before Exalted tier comes out, because it was at the end of 2018. Yeah, it was then. I really like, the idea of living statues, and I start with Zal 1 and, 3 full units of Immortals and some, support to this one. There wasn't Supreme Guardians, so, I base only on the small models and small solos. So it was factor what I decide to, to start with the Scorn. And of course, a lot of people in this then saying that Scorn wasn't very good, but when I play with these Immortals, etc., I won tournaments. I have very high. I was in top 3, for example, and so on. So those models.
All right. So his next question is: speaking of which, Hexerus 1 was the Warlock that drew me into Scorn way back when. Do you feel either Hexerus 1 or Hexerus 2 has a place in the current meta, or are they still lacking?
If we're talking about Hexerus 2, of course, there's only one way to, in my opinion, of course, only one way to play with him. So, Disciples of Agony with, different beasts, because he has very good support because of his +2 to speed. Base, so those beasts, even Aradus, are quite fast. I can say, if we can say that Aradus are fast, but overall the beasts are very fast. Of course, we can use minion beasts like Warhawks, like Rustlers, and so on. There is different options. So Hexerus 2, yes, in my opinion, but only in Disciples of Agony. If we're talking about Hexerus 1, I'm trying to play with him on this tournament in Poznan, and there was 5 games, and we must use both lists. So one of the lists with Xerxes. No, we're talking about Hexerus.
Yeah, Hexerus 1 and 2.
Oh, sorry. So we can cut this answer from.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, people. No, that's fine. People will still be interested in hearing.
Yeah.
Let's finish your thoughts about Xerxes, and then
okay. So about
we can.
Yeah. So about Xerxes. So Xerxes 1 is this. He gives. So I play with Masters of War, and against. It was game against Grimkin, and the only way to win this game was to use the Casterkin. So I have some idea for the list, but on the battlefield it's not working as I planning. So for now, if we Xerxes is only 10 inches of control, so this is very huge issue with him, because it's hard to be everywhere. And he really want to support those by his feet, for example. Of course, spell list is very good, because he has very good upkeeps. So if we have some list, like for example Immortals in Exalted, where this list can play, sometimes I believe this list can play without Warlocks. So if we use, for example, Xerxes 1 in Exalted the tier list, then I believe it can work very good. So this is.
All right.
And now about Hex Series 2 and Hex Series 1.
Yep.
I don't believe in those two casters can play very competitive on the table. Of course, in friendly game we can use everything, even Naresh. But Hex Series 2 and Hex Series 1, they don't have, if we look on the tiers of Scorn and those two guys, they don't have enough support to the armies to use them. Even honestly, when I sent lists to a person who was responsible for event in Poznan, I make some mistake and I put the Hex Series 1, but it should be Xerxes 1, and they. It was very big surprise for the people, and they start asking me via messenger, "Hey man, why you take Hex Series 1?" And there was question mark. What kind of Hex Series 1? I was Xerxes 1. So I don't believe in those two casters. So I don't honestly, even I was thinking many times about to create some Hex Series 2 with Black Spot and Mammoth and something like this, and it's never working like it should be. So I don't play with them a lot of time and don't have any idea how it should work.
So the next question from Dragon Pup, he says, what Scorn models do you think that people are undervaluing?
This is a hard question because I believe I think there is no such a model because all models are very weak. People don't use them, and all models can be, useful. Even, of course, not only always OP, but just useful. That in Scorn, I believe we are using them because maybe now, but of course, I believe it changing. Before this, the dynamic update, for example. Gladiator wasn't. It was model what people don't want to use because we have free terrorizer and the same animus. But now I believe the gladiator can back to the list because now we must pay 7 points for the lesser war beast, and we can add some 6 points and use and have heavy war beast with the same animus. So I believe this model can be. This model can back to the list, but others, of course, there is a lot of different things, but of course it depends from meta because before this slingers was quite useful. Now they are still waiting maybe for the times for them, so I don't see that kind of models except this gladiator.
All right, so next question from Dragon Pup. He says, what models are the boogeymen of the Polish meta?
Of course, Polish meta now built from the beginning because, for example, this dynamic update. But of course, before it was Death Archon, but I believe it was everywhere the same. And the question is about the boogeyman. If we're talking about score or just overall?
I think overall, yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I don't see something like this, but of course, from my point of view. But I don't want to be rude or something like this. But sometimes it's not depend only from the model, but from the people who using those models. For example, because I saw a lot of people afraid of immortals. For example, before this dynamic update, but I saw the players who don't know how to use those models, and they they losing very easy games, I can say. So not models, but the players, because now I don't see such a models like that. This is auto wins or something like this.
All right. So
one thing, maybe because even last time we spoke with my friends about one very old model, maybe not old, but old model, the Gremlin Swarm. Gremlin Swarm, it's 3 points model, but I saw that this model won a lot of games because because of his rule, so stealth and incorporeal. But of course, this is not boogeyman, but this is, for example, very powerful model for only 3 points who can win many games. I believe that people understand why he can, won many games.
All right. So next set of questions are from Imperial. His first question is, how would you play Jalam?
Jalam, this is I'm playing with him with Winds of Death couple, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like this. But of course, for today, this Warlock is quite specific because he can play with really with different lists. But I believe he will be not on the top of the tournaments or something like this. But for example, we can create now. He can be very good option for Masters or Masters of War based on Catarapact with shooting. So Incendiary and Aquari or something like this, because I never remember exactly those names. Because he have Deadeye, so we have then we have 2 units with that shooting with good accuracy. We can use Market, then we can cast this spell even 3 times, for example. So I see him in Masters of War based on shooting. Of course, he has very good feat. The feat is amazing. And of course, with Disciples of Agony, some base of the shooting. But I believe that the better option will be with Masters of War. But as I mentioned, have very good spell list, etc. But still, I never believe that Scorn is, the top. The top lists are based on shooting. So this is not Signar or I don't know or Crucible Guards, for example, where they can base those lists on shooting. But Masters of War, like I mentioned.
All right. So next question from Imperial is, how would you play Winds of Death?
Of course. For Wings of Death, I see 2 the best Warlocks. One is Rashet and one is Jalam, what I said before. Of course, there should be slingers. There should be slingers for sure. If we're talking about, for example, Rashet, and we base on his feat, then we can use Venator's Reverse. I will check because I don't use them a lot of time. So, for example, of course, Venator's Slingers and Venator's Reverse. I will use them with unit attachment, because this unit attachment gives them snipe on mini feet. So for sure I will use this. And of course it's very good to killing low armor infantry. Of course with feet of Rashet we can kill medium armor infantry. Slingers are very good to killing some construct models, because of course if there is still a lot of different options, because if we combine, for example, Hermit, we can combine Void Archon and combine Feed and combine spell of Rashet. What gives its Bloodmark, if I could remember, it gives -2 armor. It's Bloodmark. So if we combine those 4 things, then we have Slingers shooting with power 18, for example, in Colossals. So power 18 with 3 dice. So with that combination, they can kill a lot of different Colossals. So Winds of War. Of course, now we have good option with cheaper shooting machines like Venator Catapult and Venator Flyer Cannon, because of course Catapult is now better because this is cost only 3 points, and if we combine this with Jalam and Deadeye, it's shooting very well. But still, if we're talking about Winds of Death, this is not a lot of different options to choose, because we don't have nothing what can fight very well except beasts, because still we have different options. For example, from the beasts, Mammoth is good option, because if we have whole army shooting, then it's good to have beast with good range, and Mammoth is that kind of beast. So I will build list around those two Warlock. I will repeat Rashid and Jalam, and then I will build with Jalam for sure. I will take Venators, both units and catapult, and with Rashid slingers, even 2 units can be used there with Mammoth, and the rest, of course, some support.
So next question from Imperial. He says, what is the best Scorn war beast?
Agonizer. Yeah, okay. Agonizer. This is when I'm. What does it mean? The best, in my opinion, the best is this beast what is in the most of the Scorn lists. And even when, for example, if now I will open my war room and I will check different lists, in most of them, maybe in every of those lists, there will be Agonizer, because this is, beast with very good animus. Sometimes people forget about this animus, and it push models 2 inches from the caster, 3 inches directly away. So this is a very good animus, and of course the main thing is Gnawling Pain, so -2 strength without any restrictions. So it doesn't matter living or not, just mean -2 strength. So in my opinion, this is the best war beast.
So I guess a follow up with that is the Agonizer would probably fill a little bit more of a support role. So I guess I have 3 follow-up questions. What would you say is the best out of melee beasts, ranged beasts, and combined range and melee beasts for Scorn?
Okay, so for example, the best maybe combine. So this is Desert Hydra. I built my Zal 2 Exalted with Desert Hydra, and there was people always, a lot of people asking why I'm using this war beast. And in my opinion, of course, first of all, this is gargantuan, so it's punching very hard, because power 18 is quite enough. And additional I have in this list Void Archon, so this is power 20, for example, and there is 9 potential attacks with power 20. So this is very good melee attacks. If we're talking about range attacks, 5 sprays with potential power, of course, in different reasons, because it can be even more than 20. But for example, in my list, it was around 60 to 80 to 18 power. So this is very good shooting, and of course, very good animus, because -2 in command range, -3 to range attacks. So this is the best combine. If we're talking about combine, about melee, for example, I very like Tiberian, because this is beast what can, he can get a couple punches and still can be, and he can fight back. Of course, I believe there will be a lot of things. There will be a lot of voices that will say that Molik is the best, but I believe all of players know what Molik can do, and this is first target to for the players to kill this model. So honestly, I didn't see in last years any game where Molik do what he can do on paper, because he's not tough, not so tough as we want him to be. So in my opinion, Tiberian is the best melee, and one of my favorites. It was one of the after Immortal. It was one of the first models what I buy to Scorn when this resculpt was released. And if we're talking about shooting, about shooting, I think Mammoth is the best. About only shoot. Of course, still Mammoth is gargantuan, so he can fight and so on. But in our in Scorn list, we don't have such a powerful shooting on the beast, because of course we have Chiron, but Chiron is good with shooting under Xakar. Because then his spray is fully boosted on hits, and then this spray is very good. But without Xakar, he not shooting very well. So Mammoth, to not extend this time, Mammoth is the best in shooting. Of course, we need still combination couples like eyeless sight for him, or magical attacks additional, or something like this. But Mammoth. And with its special attack.
So I think it's fairly safe to say that a lot of the gargantuans that other factions have don't see a lot of table time. And you just mentioned the Mammoth and Hydra. Would you say that there's, I guess, just a rough guess, what percentage of lists that you make would you guess have one of the Scorn gargantuans in it?
I believe that, I don't know, 80%. I just like those big models, and I believe the main thing is to have idea how to play with those models, because of course sometimes I just make mistakes and I lose those, for example, Hydra too fast, because I don't know something about the army of my opponent. But I use them very often, and for example, when I create list of Morgul 2 for Poznan Masters based on pharaohs, because it was disciples of Agony, there was 3 units of pharaoh brigands with unit attachments. There was 3 units of slaughterhousers, and of course there was some support. I don't remember what, but it's now, I believe, not important. And of course, it was the base of the list. And when people, reading this list, they don't see such a, this is something amazing or something like this. But then they check the battle group, and there was Mammoth. So I have, a lot of infantry with good shooting, good melee, etc. And still, if this is not enough, at the end there is Mammoth with shooting, with melee. Still, it's gargantuan with 50-something boxes, with armor 20, with agonizer, because there was agonizer 2, with agonizer armor 22. So I'm using very often gargantuans. And honestly, I don't know. Of course, I don't want to talk about different factions, but about Scorn, I don't know why the people not using them very often, because they just good.
Yeah. All right. So next question from Imperial is how would you play Masters of War?
No, Masters of War, one of the best in my opinion is Makeda 2. Because of spells, because of feat, and now there was some changes in her abilities. So overall, Makeda, of course, and still, if opponent have nothing to something, if opponent don't have any grievous words on something like this, what prevent from healing, then we have of course her base ability, what she can for fury keep model alive. So even I use her very often, and of course it was, for example, it was my second list when I'm using her with Masters of War based on 3 units of swordsmen with unit attachments. One list I have very crazy, because there is 3 units of swordsmen with unit attachment. There is 1 unit of Praetorian Keltari, and 1 unit of Praetorian Carax. And it was, it was anti-shooting list, because Carax gave model with base to base, they cannot get blast damage, and Praetorian Keltari with +2 defense against shooting and magic, and they base ability with +2 defense against shooting. They have defense 17 against shooting. So it was army anti-shooting, and it was second my army. Second army was exalted, if I could remember. So I playing in that way with Masters of War with a lot of infantries. Of course, if I want to create something against melee, because if you're talking about Praetorian Swordsmen, they have combo strike, so power 12 with mini feat. There is 4 dices in charge, so power 12 with 4 dices. And additional with feat of Makeda, there is 3 dices for hitting. They have mat based 7, so it's very good. And of course, we can improve this power if we use some Void Archon or Hermit. So yeah, mostly I will base on some Praetorian models, Masters of War.
All right, so next question from Imperial. He says, Venator Reverse seem quite good now. What are your thoughts?
Vernato Reverse?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't see difference before, for example, dynamic updates. So Vernato Reverse is good shooting unit with not such a big power, because for example we're shooting with power 12 against large bases. So they are quite okay, but of course if we're talking about against some infantry list, so yeah, it can be okay, but still they need some good warlock. So Jalam or Rashad must be used with them. So they are okay, but nothing special.
Okay, well, next question. This is from Lee. He says, any suggestions for a Scorn list to please a new player who likes straightforward / simple but effective forces? Please, not too many activations or intricacies.
First, I can say only one thing. Choose those models what you like. And this is most crucial in this game, because all of new players they should have a lot of patience, because in this system, first of all, you are losing the games. Of course, if you play against more experienced players, and I believe this is the best way to learn this game, to just to get a lot of losses. For example, at the beginning of my playing in War Machine, 80% was games was lost by me. So choose models what you like, and this is the best. Of course, if he really want good advice based on good models, so you take Xerxes 2, take Tiberion. This is very good models, and play with Disciples of Agony, so you can use or minion war beasts like Warhawk or Wrestler or some other titans, and there will be not a lot of activation. For example, I even can read my list because I have Xerxes based, so maybe this will be some kind of inspiration. There is not a lot of activation. So as I mentioned, Xerxes 2, Tiberion, double Titan Sentry, Bronzeback Titan, Basilic Crea. There is 2 Paingiver Taskmasters, Makeda 0, so this new solo with Agonizer and Terrorizer. We have 2 Death Archons, Swamp Gober Chef, Swamp Gober River Rider, and full unit of Paingiver Beast Handlers. So there is 12 or something like this, maybe 15 activations. So, and of course there are a lot of activation where you are activating only one model. So this is very this is list, and of course this is for 75 points. So there is option to play for less points, but you can base on that. And I believe all of those models what I mentioned are quite nice models. And this list, I believe this list can be even competitive on the table.
All right, so next set of questions are from Zap Brannigan. He says, what would you like to see from an 80mm base model for Scorn?
80mm base?
Yeah, so they've, in some of the insiders for Orgoth, they've said that they're going to be making some 80mm Orgoth models. And so there's something that will potentially be added into the game.
Okay. I want to see something like heavy basilisk. Of course, we have character heavy basilisk like Chiron, but I want to see something like this one, or some Aradus. Aradus can be like Aradus mother, so it can be big back on 80mm. So those two, because of course rest of models are on the good basis. So something like this: Aradus, big Aradus or big basilisk. It will be good option.
Next question from Zap. He says, "This is." I'm actually curious to see if this your answer to this has changed post update. So, as a little preface, it seems like whenever I have a Scorn guest on the podcast, one of the common questions is how to make Naresh work, and post update or pre update the most common response was just like, well, you know, go play him in a fun game, but you can't really make him work competitively.
Yeah, Naresh, Naresh, I'm really trying to do something with this guy, and no, this model is even, I have this model is even painted, but it stay in the shelf, and I don't believe I will use him even in friendly game, because the friendly game should still be some kind of pleasure, but this model don't give nothing. One time I'm play with him. One time it was about 3 years ago. But no, there is this guy gives something only under the feet and nothing more. So this is even if they change something in the dynamic update, but it don't give nothing, because they change only himself, nothing about spell list, etc. So no, I will not. I don't. Yeah, this is very poor model. Yeah.
All right. Next question from Zap. He says, "Is there anything that's way below the curve for Scorn right now?"
Once again, please, because below.
Is there anything that is underpowered, that is way underpowered compared to everything else?
Naresh.
Okay.
The Naresh is for sure. Yeah. Honestly, no. I believe it's impossible to make all models or all tiers, etc., on the same level, because Privateer Press, has a lot of different models in every faction. So if we check, for example, even Scorn, there is, I don't know, 50, 60, something like these different choices in total, and it's hard to make them on the same power level. But only maybe, of course, if we this is maybe not wish, because I believe that Scorn is very powerful faction, but this Winds of Death tier, of course, and models belongs to this Winds of Death, can be a little bit better, but I believe the Scorn is on the right level, and Hacker should be for free in Exalted.
All right, so the rest of the questions are basically going to be from Benup. His first one is how to win Scorn.
How to win Scorn? With Scorn, or against Scorn, or playing Scorn?
basically how to win the faction, I guess.
Whoa, I don't know. I'm just winning. So, I believe it's not only on the faction. It's based on knowledge about the opponents, because if we don't know what opponent army can do, it's very hard to play against that. So and there can be a lot of surprises if we don't know that, and we can lose the game because we don't know something. And of course, if we want to winning with the Scorn, we should just not using, funny Warlock like Naresh or something like this. We should using Warlocks where we can build really competitive lists. But I believe in Scorn we have a lot of them. And of course we should use we should use the style of the or maybe we should build the style of the play of Scorn, because for example I like play with a lot of infantry models. This is I love the infantry models. So most of my lists are based off a lot of different. Of course, if we're talking about Exalted, there of course we have Immortals. If we're talking, like I mentioned, these Disciples of Agonia, and now I'm using Pharaohs. In Masters of War, I'm using a lot of Swordsmen. So this is my style of game. Of course I have some lists based on the beasts, but mostly I'm playing with infantry. So first we should create some kind of style, because not all of, for example, in Poland we're playing on Deathclock. I believe in most of countries tournaments as a community using Deathclock, and I saw that not infantry lists are not for every player, because I saw where the people losing because of Deathclock, because they have too much models on something like this. So first we should build this style, and then base our list on that. And Scorn is very good, very powerful list, very powerful faction, and and of course one of the maybe the most strongest theme, of course, there is Exalted, because there is so if somebody wants to winning with Scorn, can use the Exalted theme force, and there is a lot of warlocks what are working with this tier, because even we can, for example, talk about Zadesh. If we think about him, he is the best with the beast, but honestly, he can work very well with Exalted, because he has very good feet. He has Cloud Wall, and those two things are enough, to support very good these models. And of course, I can say about other warlocks, like even Morgul 2 is very good. Rashet, of course, Zals, both they are just created for this tier. So if somebody wants to winning, he can start with Exalted, but most important is this what I say before: create some style and build list around this style, and just winning.
All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and pause there and stop our conversation and continue it in the next episode. Pawel, I wanted to thank you very much for being the guest on this episode and for sharing your expertise.
I really want to thank you for inviting me here. It was really pleasure for me. This discussion is very good. Thank you. Thanks for all of your patrons for questions. It was very nice questions.
And as always, check out discountgamesinc.com for your gaming needs, your gaming supplies, and thank you to the patrons who support the show and make this all possible. So stay tuned for the bonus episode.